Hey there, kings and queens. My name is Kincaid McMinn, and you're watching the Kingly Love YouTube channel. So I wanted to talk to you today about something that doesn't deal with masturbation directly or even porn use, but deals with the entire internet overall, and so I feel is still incredibly important to talk about. What I wanted to talk about today is what's known as the FOSTA-SESTA laws. Now, FOSTA-SESTA stands for Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act and Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act. They were recently passed by Congress with flying colors because who wants to oppose a bill that's aimed at sex trafficking? That's just a bad person. So it passed with flying colors, and then this past month was signed into law by President Trump. And it's aimed at stopping online sex trafficking, which is a good thing. What the bill essentially does is it enables the government and it enables victims of sex trafficking to prosecute and to sue website providers that knowingly allowed sex trafficking to take place on their websites and on their forums. This is a good thing. In a recent Teen Vogue article, Lauren Hirsch, National Director of World Without Exploitation, said, FOSTA-SESTA is a response to a grave injustice that disproportionately affects women and girls of color, most who have landed in the sex trade not because of choice, but because of lack of choices or coercion. Trafficking survivors and their families have worked tirelessly with lawmakers to shine a light on the violent, sometimes lethal, reality of online sex trafficking and pass a bill that holds websites that knowingly facilitate trafficking accountable. So again, this is a good thing. It's allowing the little guys to finally go after the bad guys who hurt them. But there are a couple problems with this law. First and foremost, the biggest problem with it is that it doesn't distinguish between coerced and forced sex trafficking and consensual sex work. Believe it or not, there are women, there are men out there who knowingly and willingly perform sexual services in exchange for money. A lot of them are independent contractors. They, have a client list. They work by referral, just like how a doctor or a dentist would work by referral. That's how they build their client bases. And a lot of them use the internet to do that. They use the internet specifically as a barrier to, number one, accrue new clients, but also number two, to screen their clients. Sex workers could share information about clients and, clients who were safe or clients who weren't safe. For example, somebody could say, hey, John D wants to be a client of mine. Are they safe? Are they a good client or a bad client? What do you guys think? And they would be able to share that information. However, now, because of FOSTA-SESTA, a lot of websites are taking down entire sections of them or just being shut down entirely that allow that kind of exchange of information to take place because they don't want to misconstrue consensual sex work with sex trafficking. And so what that's doing is that's taking power out of the hands of sex workers. It's taking power away from them. And unfortunately, because it's taking down that safety barrier, it's going to end up forcing a lot of sex workers back out onto the streets and back out under the control of pimps who now will be able to say, oh, so I hear your website got taken down. If you need new clients, I can help you get new clients. And so it's going to be putting more sex workers in greater harm's way in the long run. Of the people that I've spoken to on this issue, a lot of them are sex educators, some of them have been social workers. They don't view a whole lot of positives from this bill, unfortunately. The people that it's aiming to protect, unfortunately, stand to suffer as a result of this bill. And in addition, this unfortunately is not going to just target sex workers or like prostitutes or escorts. This affects all sex work professions. It affects cam girls, it affects prostitutes, porn stars, including sexual educators, counselors, therapists, or coaches like myself. Anything that could relate to sexuality in exchange, sexuality services, we're going to use the term, in exchange for money, can be viewed negatively, and so will be targeted by these new laws. Now, why should you care? How does this affect you? Because of these laws, website providers are going to start working a lot harder on policing the language that users provide, and even begin to censor users. So some people would argue that this is a huge breach of First Amendment free speech. Some people might view this as a deliberate attack on sexual expression and freedom by using sex trafficking as a scapegoat and as a reason to justify their laws. And these laws were brought into effect because specifically of one website in particular, Backpage.com, which knowingly allowed sex trafficking to take place. So ideally this would be able to help, but Backpage.com was prosecuted and the executives were arrested before FOSTA SESTA got passed into law, so why do we need these laws in the first place? Now what can we do about this? Unfortunately, because the laws have already been passed and signed by President Trump, there's not a whole lot we can do but grin and bear it for the time being. Hopefully at some point they'll be repealed, but up for now, just begin to be careful of the content that you provide and that you post online regarding especially anything sexual. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions about FOSTA SESTA laws and how it's going to affect you personally, go ahead and leave a comment down below, send me a message. Until next week, I will be back with more information specifically on masturbation for National Masturbation Month. Love like royalty.